So anyway, yeah, we're going to be talking about a new podcast today, and we have the co-hosts on Chris Silva and Kyle Miller, who's been on the show many times before. And then later in the show, we're going to be talking about Dan Sparrow's passion project, the Cannabash Fest, which is in July. Hopefully, the weather will be decent by then. I know it's just this. I just got back from Florida 10 days ago, and this weather's killing me. So anyway, I digress. So let's get back to Rick. So I know you were talking about some of the stuff while we were chatting this morning. A couple of things you want to cover. So take it away.
Well, good morning, everyone. And it is it is Hash Bash week here. Hash Bash comes up on Saturday, April 2nd. We have a wonderful lineup of speakers ready to go this year, including, for the very first time ever, a sitting attorney general for the state of Michigan who will stand amidst the clouds of psychedelic smoke and address our heavy cannabis smokers with words of wisdom. It's pretty amazing that we are so mainstream now that we can get a sitting official to do something like that. Remember that the last time we were live, 2018 or so, we had the Attorney General as well as then candidate for Governor Gretchen Whitmer also on stage too. The bash itself is not the only thing going on in Ann Arbor this weekend, though. Realize Monroe Street Fair runs from about 11 a.m. till 6 p.m., 2 blocks south of the Hash Bash. Monroe Street's greatly expanded this year. Some of the comments I happen to see on social media reference past years where Monroe Street Fair was so tightly packed that it was difficult to move around, and people who had claustrophobic issues didn't feel comfortable. You shouldn't have that concern at all this year. They've expanded to the west. They've expanded to the north. They're up on Tappan Street now too. So it's just a wonderful experience. Michigan Normal will have a booth there. The Great Lakes Expungement Network will also have a booth there. Chad Watch does not, that I know of, have a booth there yet, but it would be fun if they did, especially with March Chadness going on. But, you know, again, Ann Arbor is just a wonderful place this weekend. The Hash Bash Cup is a 2-hotel takeover in Ann Arbor off Jackson Street, where we have 420 in all the open areas all day long, all weekend long. If you've never been to the Hash Bash Cup, you really need to check it out because it is a unique experience here in the United States. But we also this year, Great Lakes Expungement Network has a little treasure map for Ann Arbor, which means you pay $30, you get a map, you run around to about 12 or 13 different really fun cannabis places, collect some free cannabis stuff, some swag, some smokables. And at the end, if you get a passport on all of those locations, you are entered into a drawing to receive a really super cool, awesome prize. Redemption Cannabis has an awful lot to do with that. Big sponsors of the Michigan Cannabis Freedom Coalition and the Great Lakes Expungement Network. Michigan Normal will have a booth at the event also too at Monroe Street. There are several booth style tents which will be available at Hash Bash on the Diag itself. Those are primarily nonprofits and people collecting signatures for ballot proposals. As Jamie mentioned last night, I was a guest along with Jamie Lowell at the West Michigan Cannabis Guild, and I was able to sign for the very first time a statewide ballot proposal which would legalize the use of entheogenic substances for all of our Michigan residents 21 and over. So that is an exciting feature too. Make sure that you get a chance to sign that. Hash Bash is just a wonderful event for things like networking and politics. And Mike, I think that's all I've got for you today.
I might also add, for those who are concerned about parking, it's also the U of M spring game. I think it starts around noon, but I warn you, you really need to get to town early because not only will it be the Hash Bash crowd, it'll be the football fans. And believe it or not, for a scrimmage, you get about 50,000 people that show up to watch that game in the football stadium. So I tried it one time and it was just incredibly boring and left. So, but anyway, just one more warning: come early or your parking is going to be way out at Briarwood Mall or something. Anyway, so let's switch to Dan Sparrow now. I never know what Dan's going to be reviewing, and so what would it be today, Dan?
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Cannabis Review. We are throwing Cannabash here in Muskegon in July 9th to be exact, and tickets will go on sale on 420. So if if you're interested, there's only about 5,000 tickets available, so I would want to get on that as soon as possible. We had one of the acts actually stop and visit the venue, and we only live about a mile away from the venue, so obviously we spent some time together. And this gentleman is Willie J. Peso. He's one of the acts in the Cannabash show, and he's really deep in with the heavyweight heads. This is Purple Flamingo. It's the one I haven't tried yet. I did try this Sun Fuel. And unfortunately, with all the tags and everything that Dispo's put on, you can't really read this one, but this is orangutan, and this was a Cannabis Cup winner. Heavyweight Heads is a cultivator and a processor. And they can be found in stores like Exclusive, Jars, Nature's Relief, who we just reviewed a couple of weeks ago, my good friend Joe Jangda. And then they do have a provisioning center called Heads. I believe it's in Adrian from my scrambling around trying to get all this information. Some of their proprietary strains they have are Orangutan, Sun Fuel, Sunshine, the Flamingo, Wet Pea, and Cream Soda. And then I seen some 7 shorties, but I wasn't able to try any of those either. They do have some edibles as well. Blue raspberry, tutti frutti, peach, mango, and green apple. 100 milligrams, looks like it retails around $12. Most of their eights, pre-packed eights, are around $35. So it's really nice price points. And the product is really good. Smoked well. The pre-rolls didn't run. Like I tell everybody though, make sure you open the end up and just roll that pre-roll a little bit. Make sure it has some gaps in there because they get packed in pretty tight sometimes. But no, they were tasty. The ash was white, like everybody likes to see. And for the THC chasers, you're probably not going to buy any of this heavyweight heads. They're terpene focused, and they're going to come in that 20 to 24 range, which is plenty enough to get the proper amount of THC out of something if the terpenes are there. So I was hopeful that Willie was going to be on the show today, and he can do some more talking about all of those things. But that's really all I have about heavyweight heads. Like I said, I just met him yesterday. I've seen him around. I know that Trick, a Detroit guy, along with Willie J. Peso, are some people that are extremely affiliated with this heavyweight heads brand. Great artwork, nice packaging, and really good people from what I've gathered so far. So that's all I have on those at this time.
I always enjoyed the names. It's just wild, some of the names that they come up with for these pre-rolls that you review every week. So interesting. All right, so let's go to Jamie Cooper, and she's going to talk about events. And God, I know I'm getting inundated with that copy, so you must be too, right?
Oh my gosh, more and more events keep popping up, especially on 420. And of course, 420 is one of the biggest shopping days in the cannabis industry. Actually, it's 420 and Black Friday, and we do grab bag promotions for both of those. So first and foremost, do mark your calendars for 420 because the Cincy Magazine grab bags will be available at our participating locations throughout the state. We have 1,000 grab bags that will be distributed in 20 locations and have about 18 products, THC products that will be in those bags. This one's a big one. We had lots of partners that wanted to participate in this one. I know that some of our partners are probably sitting on a little bit of product right now. I think that's why everybody was so generous with their donations. Boy, the markets has certainly changed over the last several months and a couple years. So also on 420 is the Michigan Cannatech Expo. You can register. That event's going to be at the Soaring Eagle Casino at Mount Pleasant on April 20th and 21st. You can register at emergingindustryprofessionals.com. And for 50% off those tickets, If you use the code Cincy22, you will get 50% off of your tickets for that expo. The weekend after, so that would be Saturday after 420 on April 23rd, is the 420 Music Festival, which will be held in Lansing. There's a lot of different companies that are going to be a part of that. I did see heavyweights on that list, exclusive brands, Live out of Ferndale. Live Ferndale's a part of it. And then on April 30th, Flow Presents is doing their Reggae on the Riverside event in Ypsilanti. That's supposed to be a fun event as well if you're really into reggae like I am. Hopefully we will see you out there. And then in May, we're looking on the Cincy side, we're looking at hosting one of our women's event on May the 5th, and then we're doing a Cincy Connects on May 18th. So the calendar is getting fuller and fuller every day. It's great to see events. Last night, I thought we talked about this earlier. I saw Rick at the West Michigan Cannabis Guild. It was the first Cannabis Guild meeting, I think, face-to-face since COVID. I may be wrong, but you know, it's certainly the first one that I have been a part of since COVID hit, and it sure feels good to be getting out and about in our community again and seeing familiar faces. That's all I have, Mike.
All right. Well, actually, I'm going to turn it back over to you because this next segment was your idea. I've been under the weather with the flu for the last week, so I'm not, energy level's been a bit down. And so I went to my team and I said, hey, bail me out. And Jamie and Dan did. So go ahead, introduce your guests.
Yeah, and I thought it was timely to invite Chris Silva and Kyle Miller on today's show because they just launched their own podcast and it's called Chad Watch, and people are talking about it, and just wanted to invite them on to talk about it and tell us a little bit about the show. And first of all, guys, I would love if you guys took a little bit of time to talk about what it is that you do in the industry. I think it's also important to talk about your backgrounds because your backgrounds is what kind of led you to this point. So Chris, we'll start with you.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for having me on the show. Long time listener, first time caller, right?
Love that.
And yeah, and in fact, it's kind of a little bit more highbrow than Chad Watch, right? So I was like, the 420 post, like maybe the first time I'll ever be on there, it'll be about like an expungement clinic or like some advocacy or something that I'm doing. But here we are for Chad Watch, and so that's awesome. So I work for Redemption now, and I'm a sales rep for the company. And before that, I worked for about a year and a half, a little bit under that, for Farmhouse Wellness, was the second provisioning center in Grand Rapids. It's the only locally owned one. And before that, I did just a lot of like political and political consulting and ballot work. I was the treasurer and campaign manager of the MI Legalize effort. And I worked for a lot of caregiver stores after that. And before that, I'd done almost exclusively political work, a lot of advocacy work, but mostly a lot of just signature gathering contracts. And I did that all over the country from when I graduated college until about right now. And so that's kind of just a little bit about my background leading up to Chad Watch.
Awesome. Kyle, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Yeah, I muted you, Kyle, so unmute. So
your beard is noisy. Oh, you'll have to unmute yourself, Kyle.
Yeah, I muted you when you coughed there earlier. So there we go.
Thanks.
Okay.
Excellent. So yeah, my name is Kyle Miller and I own Easton Craft in Ionia, which is a adult use retail store. I prior to that worked for Meds Cafe for about a year. My background has been similar to Chris's in that I did a lot of political work. I was a legislative staffer for a while. Prior to that, I did some campaign work, lots of ballot campaigns similar to Chris. I've done a lot of voter registration drives and things of that nature too. So
awesome. Appreciate you guys telling us a little bit about what your background entailed and what led you here. So Tell us a little bit about Chad Watt. Sorry, my bird is yelling.
My dog just barked too, so
We've got the animal show here today. It's great.
Yeah.
Keep going. So,
Chris, you
If
want
you
to?
guys could tell
Yeah,
us a little bit about
sure.
Chad
Yep.
Watch.
Sorry, I was trying to get off mute. So, yeah, Chad Watch is kind of like I don't know if anyone's seen the show like American Greed, like on MSNBC or CNBC, where they kind of talk about like super crazy corporate scams, or just like for example, like the Theranos lady and like, stuff like that. So that's kind of like the idea is we want to highlight bad behavior, and I guess we would also extend bad behavior into the realm of like people that are trying to chip away at pre-existing rights that caregivers and patients have in the state, or people that are pushing the parts of the industry that we believe to be counter to the culture and to a lot of the established operative norms in our industry. And so we want to draw attention to that, and then also kind of poke fun a little bit. That's with the name Chad Watch, that's a pejorative for somebody who's not necessarily a marijuana person, who's not in tune to our culture, and kind of is the worst actors, right? Profit, they're seeking to maximize profit at all costs. Their commitment to quality is definitely below their commitment to profit. They oftentimes use their large amounts of capital and other advantages that they have from being like institutionally wealthy or advantaged to swoop up the real estate or other parts of the industry that I think the end consumers not very knowledgeable about. A lot of people think like, we voted for marijuana, and now if like the proverbial small business owner, mom and pop, wants to get a dispensary, they go to the bank, they fill out the stuff, they go to the city, and they do that. But it's not like that. As you all know, like whenever a municipality opts in, it's a land rush. And surprise, surprise, if you're a proverbial rich guy, your network of favors and friends and connections is just way better. So it's trying to draw attention to a lot of these parts of the industry. It's kind of it's definitely a consumer advocate kind of feel, like no shit, we might try to get Ralph Nader on it. We think he'd love that. So I think that's just kind of the goal, is to try to educate the consumer while making fun of these chads. So.
okay, I'd like to open it up to Rick or Dan or anybody else to ask some questions for these guys. I think they were just on your show yesterday, weren't they, Rick?
Well, yeah, Chris certainly was, and I enjoyed it because it was a tight little green room, so we had to all snuggle right together. So I don't get to do that with Chris very often. And then, we were snuggling again at the restaurant later. We missed Kyle because his beard is so nice and soft. But the fact of the matter is, Chad Watch really exposes some of the folks out there that really are not in touch with our community, and they're trying to shape the cannabis industry in their own image, as opposed to respecting what we've accomplished up to this point. And that's really, I think, one of the things that defines a Chad. But there's also a Brad too, right? We have Chads and Brads. Kyle, can you talk about what a Brad is and how it differs?
I don't know the answer to that question, actually.
Chris does. Chris is laughing. He knows. There's Chads and then there's Brads.
They can be used interchangeably, but so here's my wife, who's actually much more knowledgeable on this. She taught me that the Brad is like the son of Chad, right? So like,
okay.
Brad smoked some weed before, right? Like Brad followed fucking the dead for a year or something on Chad's money, right? So he knows, he's a little bit more down with the culture, like he knows more about weed and stuff. But at the end of the day, he's still burning through dad's money to pop the grow off and stuff. And I guess like the real, all jokes aside about that stuff, the real thing that like that we're trying to draw attention to is that a lot of people don't understand that the operators that are running these stores and operations, many of them, if they're from the legacy market, if they're from the caregiver market, they might not have had like the millions of dollars it takes to walk in and do this. And so oftentimes they'll get in this situation where their Chad, the person who's investing in the money guy, they'll have the set of expectations or their perception of what the market is, or how, you know what I mean? Like it's all based on like not enough information because they're not actually industry experts, but they control the money, so they can make things happen. And so like in a lot of instances, like that's the so I'll give you an example. You know, I saw this report in one of the magazines recently, or online news article things about like they suspect maybe 38% of cannabis businesses are profitable and the rest are not at a profit. Like most of the ones that aren't, like that's Brad and Chad, you know, like they're living like they're living on capital. And so their payouts and their costs, like they're not based on reality. They're based on what they have to pay back Brad and Chad. And that's doing a lot of weird things to the market. And that's doing a lot of it's just making a lot of things that are already in a competitive landscape more competitive.
When I was at the Mardi Gras function in March 1st that Ms. Cooper put on, I was talking to a lot of folks there, just candidly, just saying you and I talking. And a lot of them, I don't know whether the numbers hold up in Michigan, but yeah, it's a real struggle right now for a lot of them to make money. In fact, many of them are admitting to me, yeah, I'm losing money right now. I'm just gutting it out, hoping that things will change as we move forward. So it's going to be a tough year, I think, here. I know Rick's talked about the big consolidation and whether this is the year it's going to happen. You want to address that, Rick?
Well, yeah, 2022 will be the year of great reckoning. What we've seen in the industry was a very predictable trend, which is a race to the bottom in per gram or per ounce pricing. We're down now, I believe, into the $150 per ounce pricing as of January. I'm not familiar with what the February number is, but I'm sure it's even lower than that too. So if you're one of these Chads and Brads who listen to bean counters who told you that, man, you're going to be so profitable because you're making $450 an ounce right now, and you're going to be bleeding green and all that stuff, and then the reality of the market sets in, a lot of these folks have made financial commitments to Canadian or other financial supporters that they simply can't meet any longer. And although, you know, they probably should have done some market research or got somebody, you know, from the legacy market to discuss this before they moved in some instances, some of these guys really didn't know any better. And they may be Chads, they may be Brads, but I still, my heart bleeds a little teeny tiny bit for some of these guys who honestly were sold a bill of goods by some slick financier who told them, look, we got all the cash, you guys raise the plants and we'll carry the weight. And the reality of the market is it's just not like that anymore. I mean, Kyle, you're involved in Easton. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The market is the lowest that it's ever been. You know, we've been operating for 2 years now, and you really got to take those kinds of things into consideration. We've always operated in a really kind of lean setting, so you know, we've been pretty prepared for it. It's been a struggle, but I think that the market could potentially go even farther. So it's tough for some of these bigger guys that don't really know what's going on.
And yet we still have success stories. I'll talk about Redemption because as part of the Redemption family, I'm very proud of the people that I work with, including Chris and Ryan. And you got a system there where people are cultivating cannabis that are very familiar with the market and very familiar with how to have their grow dialed in. So there's less loss, there's less expense. You've got a familiar product line that can launch to market at a reasonable price and who recognized from the very beginning what the price was going to be that people were wanting to pay for cannabis. If you started out at $60 an eighth and you're now trying to wean yourself down to the $45 or $35 an eighth figure, you're losing market share because the people that respected you at 60 probably don't respect you at 35.
And since we're broadcasting this on my news feed where there's a lot of general business folks who probably aren't very familiar with the cannabis market, that it's a very expensive game to get into. Why don't you address that, Kyle? I mean, you're talking seven figures, right?
No. Well, it depends on the size that you're operating. So I'll take my own situation, for example. The property that we originally adopted for our retail, we were able to get a small building that hadn't been occupied since 2004. So it needed significant work, but We were able to get the property for 85 grand, and then to build it out and get to operation, probably about 350 grand. So the building itself and the actual construction, I think if you plan for, for example, some of these retail facilities are like 5,000 square feet, you know what I mean? And I think they just really waste a ton of money building this big fancy kind of area where you're in most cases kind of in and out. Ideally, cannabis transactions are typically quick, kind of in and out. So I think that it just got like kind of crazy, you know, with the way that they spend on those things.
Dan, I see you're unmuted. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just curious, how is March Madness going? And secondly, what are you guys planning to do when you run out of Chads?
Well, I don't think the market will ever let us run out of Chads. You know, there's a new Chad is born every day. But no, I think there'll always be, unfortunately, people doing like bad stuff in the market. I think as long as there's an MCMA, there'll always be a Chad watch, you know, to be a counterweight to that. But it's March Chadness is doing well. People can go to the Instagram story and vote for the next round, the final four. That'll be today, and the championship tomorrow. What I'm finding out though is like most of the messages I get from people are like people who used to work for these stores. So that's like a big thing too, is it's kind of like, you know, we don't hate the Russian people, we hate Putin kind of thing. It's like, I'm not like, I understand there's a lot of people who probably work for these Chads who are passionate, knowledgeable cannabis people. And like, this is just like this is the only job, right? It's the only place around or something like that. And so that's not like, you know, so we're trying not to be like scorched earth here, you know, but we just want to give people the the information and let the market decide. And I think that if given the most information, I think the consumer is ideologically where we are, you know. So I think there'll always be a need for someone to be looking out for the consumer, but somebody who's in the industry and has a context of how it should be and how we should be servicing these people, you know.
Well, I think there should be some definite consumer advocacy to help these consumers make informed decisions too. But at the end of the day, you know, the consumers are going to dictate who survives and who dies.
Yeah, and it's our job to inform. You know, that's the kind of whole purpose of Chad Watch, is to inform. And, you know, the consumer is hopefully the same viewer, you know, they're the same person. So we are ready to do that.
And then are you guys prepared for the death threats?
Hopefully.
I don't know about that.
Lawsuits,
maybe, but I don't think any of them are dumb enough to sue us. That would make us like a god in the streets, you know, like that'd be wild.
All right,
God in the streets, I like it.
Yeah, I'm going to take a slight pause so we can throw in our commercial break, because my partner, business partner, Dan Keelan, the publisher of Michigan Marijuana Reports, just come in. And there's something he wanted to mention. And then when we come back, we're going to bring in Dan Sparrow's guest, because I can see him on the board, Willie J. And so take it away, Dan. The other Dan.
Wow, there's a lot of people here today. This is cool.
Yeah, it's a busy little place. So
awesome. So my little story today is about years and decades ago, when little Mike Brennan was a pup reporter, and they had those things called classified ads.
That was a long time ago.
Anyway, we're bringing them back. So we have lots of ways that people can support this show, our website, our email, with their money. And we're well aware that we're at the same time trying to help small businesses that may not have huge budgets. So we've come up with a program. It's about $15 a week for any retailer out there to basically get a spot in our classified ads. We're building out a page. It'll have your logo, your address, some information about your products. And then we're going to promote that page probably every other day in social media, promote it in our weekly email, promote it in our new Monday Spotlight email. More information, go to MIMarijuanareport.com. There's an icon there for the new classifieds offering. And anyone who's interested, I'd be happy to get you signed up.
Okay. Is that it? I don't want to take away your
Easy.
5 minutes, so
Easy,
you'll
no.
yell at me if I do.
I'm writing it down. You owe me a minute 30.
Okay. All right.
Thanks for the time.
So stand by. We'll get you in on the end of the show here too. Now, Dan Sparrow, Willie has joined us, and this is your segment. Again, thanks very much for helping out today. So why don't you introduce your guest?
Yeah, my next guest is going to be one of the main entertainment acts at Cannabash, and I was fortunate enough to meet him. This young man had the presence of mind to come check out the venue before he actually performs there. And like I said, we only live a short distance away. So I got to spend the afternoon with Willie J. Peso, and he's an incredible person. And here he is. Welcome to the show, Willie.
You can unmute there, Willie.
Thank you guys for having me. Can you hear me well?
Yep, we hear
How
you.
guys doing? I'm sorry, no video. I'm actually on location of a shoot right now, so I definitely want to take some time out just to come say hello. Thanks to Dan, Adam Scott Green for having me involved in the Cannabash that's going to be going on in Muskegon, July 9th. I don't know if you guys still can hear me.
No, we
Yeah,
can hear you
no,
fine. I'm waiting for Dan to respond is all. So go ahead.
No, you're doing amazing. Can we hear a little bit more about heavyweight heads or the giraffe brands or anything that you'd like to chat about?
Sure, I appreciate the opportunity. So again, I go by Willie J. Peso. I work with a brand, a licensed brand by the name of Heavyweight Heads. We are in multiple locations, dispensaries across Michigan. We have 7 different strands that we are right now in market, as well as a new collaboration with Lion Order. Lion Order is Bob Marley's son, Rohan Marley, that we are excited to release this launch in April, as well as continue to push our project that we have together, meaning Heavyweight Heads and myself, the giraffe head strain that we have in market as well.
Now, Willie, I've known you for a couple of years, all the way back to, I think, just after the Indica video. And you do a lot of work in Flint, man. You do a lot of work up in my section of the town, man.
Yes, how you doing, Rick? Good
I'm doing great.
See you again.
You know, Willie and I are both up here in Greg Joslin's Smoking Strong video. Here's the difference, though. Willie is featured in almost every scene, and my right arm has an uncredited cameo as I'm going smoking strong. So he's on a level of acceptance a little bit higher than mine in the community. But Willie, you really give a lot of time to the cannabis industry itself, not just to support your own music, but to support the plant. I remember you out at Clio Cultivation. I mean, doing a lot of stuff, bud.
Yeah. I'm fortunate to say this is a passion of mine, not just a occupation of mine. I put a lot of time and effort into it because it's something that I love. I feel like the cannabis plant can really, really, truly help multiple communities, economies, and just the whole world in general if we continue to work together, push forward. I know there's a lot of things going on amongst the municipalities, just in the industry itself. I just want to see cannabis continue to move forward in a positive way for all people, especially for, communities like Detroit, Flint, Muskegon, places where, you've had mass incarceration due to just the passion of the use of cannabis. And I would love to continue supporting and doing whatever I can to advocate for positive cannabis solutions.
And I might also add that there's a story on our website, which was actually from last week when the MRA announced that $42 million in taxes is going to 163 communities this week from the cannabis, I think it's the excise tax, Rick. You correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, the 10% excise tax on adult use only purchases, yes.
So that's helping a lot of communities do a lot of things. Budgets are tight right now, and that'll supplement those budgets and maybe propel some of these with the other 1,700 or so communities that have opted out to maybe think, man, maybe we should take a look at this, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
strong cannabis communities like Flint, thanks to people like Rick Thompson, and strong cannabis communities on the west side, like Muskegon, with thanks to Sparrow Consulting and Jamie Cooper and some other people really helped, move it along, because we were literally 18 months behind the east side. So, cities like Muskegon and Flint really captured some really nice dollars from these taxes, while Detroit sat and lost $4.5 million.
Yeah, big money.
Absolutely.
Yep. I'll say this too, Will. You've been involved in so many events. Cannabash is going to be awesome, but I mean, you've seen an evolution of events back from. I mean, sometimes at Vehicle City, there might be just a dozen people paying attention to you when you're performing there, versus Canna Jam, where you're going to have thousands of people ready. I mean, is it impressive to you, the evolution of how events have gone from the rebel days of when we were young to where they are now?
Absolutely. It's fast. It's growing. I think it's becoming more accepted, and this stigma behind cannabis and going to these different events are growing past just trap events, where you get people that's coming from out of town to just buy product, but you actually find these gatherings to grow to be great, large networking experiences. I know a lot of businesses have started because of attending or experiencing a cannabis event, and just seeing how many people are involved in the industry and how diverse the industry really looks. You see people of all walks of life gathering together, having a good time, all for the passion and love of cannabis or music or something that brings them together at these different events that really transitions over into the walk of life. I think things are moving in a better light when it comes from the cannabis aspect and the involvement of these cannabis events here in Michigan.
I think one of the things I marveled at Jamie's event on March 1st, Mardi Gras event, that there was 1,000 people inside that facility, and it was the most mellow crowd I've ever been around. I mean, everybody was like peace, love kind of thing, right, Jamie? You're muted. There we go.
Absolutely. And it's sad that we have to fight as hard as we do. Still to this day, we're still having to fight for this accessibility and fight for our rights around this. And really, I mean, we didn't have to call the police. We didn't have to call an ambulance to the event. Everyone was safe. There were no issues. I mean, what kind of event that serves alcohol and has 1,000 people will have that same result? None. So, why do we have to continue to fight this hard with our municipalities? And most of these municipalities will not even allow an event like that. They won't allow social consumptions. We have a lot of work that we still have to do.
Yeah, we've actually been working for over 2 years on this Cannabash, and obviously it's evolved into something much differently. And we couldn't be more proud or happier to be able to present some of these local acts. And when I say local, I'm talking on, a national scale. We have a lot of people coming from Detroit that is, very cannabis cultured, more so than the West Coast. We really, Muskegon was the beer tank capital of Michigan. And that isn't the same sort of show that we thought that we needed. We wanted to represent the culture. And with huge shout out to Adam Scott Green and him being able to wrangle these guys together for us and really put on a really good show. I mean, the bands are going to be on solid for 6 hours almost. So it's really going to be an awesome show. And I got to help out and get some of this planning done. And my good friend, Mr. Tom Beller, agreed to come too. So Echoes of Pink Floyd will be there as well. So, it's really going to be an amazing show. It's going to have a dab bar in the general admission where people can go and get dabs. And then the VIP area is also going to have a premier dab bar with cannabis cup entries. So it's going to be enjoyable for everybody.
So are we allowed to talk about some of the other bands, or yes?
The official press release, which I've been told to let them do theirs first, and then we can talk about the rest of the bands. But obviously, there's going to be some bangers there. I mean, this is going to be a really nice event, and I can mention Bone Thugs and Harmony because I already said that before. So that's the headliner at the end of the evening. So it's going to be a really good show.
So Kyle and Chris, feel free to leap in. This is sort of a general conversation. If you have some questions for Willie or for Dan, feel free to ask them.
You know, Willie, now Chris, I guess, is going to jump in. Go ahead, Chris.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, just in general, thanks for doing the events. It's one of my favorite license classes. I'm happy to see more people doing them. I also agree that I think this is how you get this to be a more normalized thing, is to like have these events in more municipalities and stuff. And I think people see like, oh, it's not crazy, I think something to look at is at the end of the night, like how many times are the cops going to get called at this event as opposed to like a beer and wine festival or something like that. So just super commendable. And to Willie, I've thanks for everything you do, man. I've smoked all the flowers. So I can tell you too, Dan, all the joints you picked up, I actually picked up a couple weeks ago, and my wife was doing some cold calls in dispensaries and tried all of them. I've been really impressed. I liked all of it. I think a lot of times people, when they are doing a brand, they just kind of like come in and just get lined up with operator. They don't really like care about quality. They're just like, yeah, put my name on the shit. Let's do it, fam. Let's get some money, So I think like it shows that you obviously like have like good instincts and good taste. Everything's really nice on it. And I also like echo what Rick said. I've been seeing you at the Cannabis Cup and at like all these events like for a really long time, since it was just caregivers. And I know you've been doing just a lot of good work. So just, I guess, thanks all the way around, to everybody. I'm super excited for this event.
And I just want to give one last shout out to all the wonderful vendors too, and all the sponsors of Cannabash, donating enough money to offset the price of tickets. General admission's only $25 to see 6, national bands. That's pretty good pricing. So shout out to all the sponsors, and everybody can show them love as more and more details come out on this. We got picked up by MLive a little bit early because they picked up the township approving the license, and we weren't quite ready for all the info to come out. So stay tuned. Cannabash Fest is on Instagram and Facebook both, so you can check both of those out.
And let me also add, again, since we're on a more general platform today, cannabis is not just for getting high. It's a lot of medicinal properties that a lot of people like. Let's talk a little bit about that so people will understand the full spectrum of it.
Well, anxiety would be the first one that I would throw out. And you don't know how many anxious people there are in the world to be able to come home at the end of the night and just wind down and relax and spend some quality time with their families.
Shoot, just pay attention to the news nowadays and it generates anxiety in you. I know that's true.
Yeah, war in Europe and
and domestic issues, and it's an election year. So that means that hate flows like rivers through the city, right? I mean, it really does. So, Willie, I know that you've been credited here with Flint and Detroit and some of the other things, but you're a national and international act. I see you on your Instagram, you're all over the place, right? You get around.
Yes, I've toured across America, have definitely had some success in Canada as well. I would say I've advocated for cannabis and done music shows across the land. And it's been a great reception in my time of promoting and the support and across the country in places that aren't necessarily legalized or decriminalized. They want this too. They look at places like Michigan, they look at places like California, Seattle, and Colorado, and they think, well, wow, one, you guys have an opportunity that we don't have in an industry that we don't have yet. And like you guys were saying about with just the events and how you don't get the cops called out when there's more cannabis events, more cannabis friendly people gathering together. It's just, we have a better time, I should say. I hate to put that stereotype out there, but if you're gathering and you're mainly consuming cannabis, you don't necessarily have the same reactions you do at an alcoholic event or alcohol served event. So yeah, I definitely also want to say thank you guys again. Thank you, Chris, for those words. I do appreciate that. Thank you, Rick. I appreciate all the support. I appreciate you guys for allowing me to get on this platform to give a shout out to the Giraffe Head brand and the Heavyweight Heads brand. And can't wait to see all you guys at Cannabash July 9th.
Okay. I know you're on location, so Willie, if you need to drop out, go right ahead. So
I truly appreciate you guys and gals. Everybody have a great day. Giraffe Head is available on iTunes and YouTube. And check Weed Maps if you need to find a location that carries the Giraffe Head strain.
Willie,
okay.
is there a story behind the giraffe head and why you chose a giraffe?
Yes. So the giraffe is like my spirit animal, I should say. The actual international day for giraffes across the world is actually my birthday.
Oh,
Yeah. So what happened with Heavyweight Heads and myself is I had a video game on Xbox One called Willie J. Peso Saves the Trees, where the giraffe head is my character. I have a Willie the Giraffe character. So when we got down and we sat down, you know, there's tons of jokes out there about being high as a giraffe. So I said, I want this strand to be called the Giraffe Head because that's the highest point on the giraffe.
That's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that with us.
No problem.
I didn't even know there was an International Giraffe Day, but see how you learn things on 420 posts. That's amazing.
we try to be educational all the time. And if anybody has any final questions, because I know he's under a deadline here of working. So anybody got anything else you want to say to Willie?
No, just thank you for your time and stay humble, my friend. You're a wonderful person. So take care of that family and keep making great music.
Thank you, guys. Have a blessed day.
All right. Thanks for joining
Bye,
us.
Willie.
Bye-bye.
We do up here in Flint have kind of a small group of performers that show up at places to support different things. We've had veterans charities events at GC3 or at Vehicle City or at other locations. And Willie's one of those guys that puts in the time without hesitation. When you need him, he can call. So he's just a great person. I know that you spent some time with him the other day, Dan. I'm sure you were very impressed. He's a great dude.
I was. I mean, I immediately thought of him to be on this show and give him a nice shout out as he's coming to Cannabash. Just a really good guy. And Heavyweight Heads is turning into a national brand. I think they're doing some white labeling in Colorado and California too, and some research I was doing this morning. So they really take a lot of pride in their pheno hunting and their strain mixing of different things. I mean, they got a Cannabis Cup winner. I mean, that stands for something. And I did smoke that one last night, and it's tasty and effective, and I really enjoyed it.
Any kind of final thoughts and anything before we go to shameless plugs?
Well, I'm looking forward to the Sensi magazine bag release that you're going to be doing this month. I received a notice that I was a special person and that I get to have a little preview of the bag itself before it comes out. But again, you know, there are limited ways that you can market products here in Michigan because of the regulations and restrictions that are put forth. You can't always show your product through your packaging. You can't use descriptive terms or cartoon images on your packaging. So something like that really actually, to my mind, is much better than a High Times Cannabis Cup, which has been perverted into something nowadays, which is not the same that it was before, where people purchase the right to become a judge and they don't necessarily have any credits or any qualifications in order to make that. I understand where it was necessary to pivot in that direction when you stop doing the in-person events as Cannabis Cups used to be. But I just really appreciate an opportunity to participate in something like the Sensi Grab Bag.
Speaking of new packaging requirements, I believe tomorrow is the last day you can use packaging with cartoon characters and things on that. For the audience, they're concerned about children seeing that and consuming those products, right, Rick? I know that's one of your areas.
It is, and I have a monthly meeting with Director Brisboe and the Marijuana Regulatory Agency as part of a consumer connection we did on Monday, and we talked about that a little bit too. Some of the packaging still stretching the limits a little bit. Actually, I have a I have a joint right here that's got, some stick figure cartoon characters on it that are probably not going to be allowed very soon. So when you talk about the restrictions that are put on there, most of them have reasons. And I still feel like there's lots of opportunity to showcase your brand without having to appeal in that direction. I think your quality of product shows up. Dan talks about products every single week, and he knows they're not all created equal.
And the amazing part is the amount of money that people put into this branding and marketing. Just go a different direction, fix it, make it right, and do echo what Rick had just said. I too am one of the special folks, and the bag is going to be epic. So for anybody, 420 is right around the corner. Think about going and getting you one of these Scentsy bags, because it's full of great products.
And I'm on that list as well. Looking forward to it. Thank you, Jamie. Just got
And
that.
go to Kyle's store. Kyle is one of our stores. They're participating
we're going to
in the
go to him
promotion.
next. Yes, we'll
Shameless
go to Kyle
plug.
next.
Yeah, that's my shameless plug right there. The
Well, no,
bags
you
are
get a
gonna
little
be
bit more
available.
time. Actually, what I was going to do is let you talk a little bit about shameless plugs. You've been on the show. We talk about how people can find your facility, how they can order stuff, buy stuff, that sort of thing, and then we'll talk about the Chad Watch in general. But go ahead, Mikhail.
Yeah, I was saying 420 Scentsy bags will be available at Easton Craft in Ionia.
What's the address there? What's the street address?
1110 West Lincoln Avenue, Ionia, Michigan.
Okay.
1110.
1110, easy to remember. And then Chris, why don't you talk about Chad Watch one more time? So people, it's been a while since you talked about that, and we have people that join us late. So go ahead.
Awesome. So tomorrow at 1 p.m. we will be filming or streaming our second episode of Chad Watch. And as we talked about a little bit, Chad Watch is kind of like American Greed meets Ralph Nader as far as like its take on the cannabis industry. It's looking to point out really bad actors and bad practices, and then informing consumers about it. This week's episode we're gonna have Adam Brook and Nick Sattel, two people that have been very instrumental in Hash Bash and just kind of like the activist movement.
Rick's face.
Mr. Hash Bash, yes.
Yeah, so that episode's going to kind of focus on Ann Arbor and the activist movement, and also like the birthplace of the more complex cannabis industry and kind of like the birth of Chad, I guess.
Yeah, we might point out again, Rick did it in his opening, but this weekend is, oh boy, it's going to be quite a weekend in Ann Arbor. We're going to have the Monroe Street Fair, which is our good friend Charlie Strackbein puts on. That's the business side of Hash Bash. It's not on the U of M campus, but then there's the Hash Bash. And I was corrected. It's the 51st anniversary, right, Rick? I was saying 50th. But it's been going on since I was a student, so that'll give you an idea how old I am. And then we got the U of M spring game, so it's going to be nuts in Ann Arbor this weekend. It'll be a lot of fun. So speaking of a lot of fun, let's go to Jamie Cooper.
Well, for me, my hope is I'm going to be wheeling my husband around in a wheelchair. I'm trying to find a wheelchair right now because he broke his leg snowboarding 2 months ago and is still on crutches. And I told him, I'm like, trust me, you don't want to be doing crutches through Hash Bash.
Oh, man, what a pain that would be.
So,
huh?
but hey, I'm going to find a wheelchair and we're going to be there with all of our bells and whistles. So to stay up to date and everything we're doing, just join our online community. It's free. It's easy to set up an account. It's connects.cincymag.com. Here pretty quick, we'll be releasing our spring issue of Cincy magazine. So keep your eye out for that. And we'll also keep your eyes out on our Instagram page. Cincy Magazine is the handle. We'll be releasing our distribution location list over the next few days for you to get one of those grab bags full of some amazing cannabis products throughout the state. Thanks, Mike.
Well, you're always welcome, Jamie. Mr. Dan? You're muted.
I was muted. I just want to give a shout out to all of our wonderful sponsors that make the show possible. As always, you can reach me at dan@hatchaplanmi.com. Like I said before, Cannabash Fest is on Facebook and Instagram. That's the handles. Love to see everybody there, but just know that there's only 5,000 tickets, and I think they're going to go really, really fast.
And what a value at $25, right?
Yeah, 25 for general admission, 125 for VIP.
Okay.
VIP will have its own restrooms, its own parking. Obviously, there's going to be catered food in there with 2 different caterers, its own private dab bar, seats in a shaded tent. I believe the tent for VIP is 40 by 150 feet with walls. So, and it's
Wow.
going to be stage side too, so you can still enjoy the show and hear it and everything. So.
Sounds great. Look forward to it. Mr. Rick?
Well, I've been working more closely with Redemption these last few weeks, as you can tell if you've been following 420 Post, and I will be repping Redemption on Friday in Detroit at the 420 factory from 3 to 6. So please feel free to stop by and check me out there. I have a couple of those treasure maps for Ann Arbor that I talked about a little bit earlier. I have a couple to give away. So if you show up on Friday and ask for one, I'll be more than happy to share one with you. But beyond that, we do a wonderful job here with 420 Post. Jazz Cabbage Cafe is doing wonderful things too. But I also appear on television every Friday on Weed Talk News. I'm the Michigan correspondent for that, and we record on Thursday. So I'm always excited about that. And it's springtime, people. So many things. Oh, I almost forgot to mention on 420, I will be at Lighten Up Provisioning Center here in Flint for a big 5-pound cannabis giveaway program. Yeah, doesn't that sound intriguing? Check out their website for more details. Thanks, Mike.
Wow, it might be worth that 50-mile drive up I-23, right? So, okay. Anyway, so Mike Brennan, I host the show, but again, without the help of Dan and Rick and Jamie, couldn't get it done. So we hope you enjoyed the show today. And also, don't forget, we have that new classified ads section. We know money's tight right now. We're trying to help folks get the word out, but we don't want to gouge them on money. We're trying to help the industry as best we can, still pay our bills. So check it out at MI Marijuana Report. If you came in late on this show, that's where you'll also find the on-demand version of this show. I'll get that up there in about an hour, so you can watch it again or just watch the parts you miss. And then next week we'll be back. Probably we'll do a wrap up on all the stuff going on this weekend and how that all went. Get Charlie Strackbine on the show. He may be recovered by then. I don't know, but I talked to him yesterday and he was pretty exhausted and still has 3 days to go. So look forward to seeing you all next week. Thanks for joining us today. And until then, have a great week.